Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel that's made in Manchester. Today's topics for you, let me just pop them up on the screen. Man United are absolutely skinned. We've got nothing left. Staff on the verge of leaving. Morale is low, in all seriousness. Garnacho potentially to leave the club. Apparently there's an unnamed club that are interested, and also we've had some news on Mason Mount, which isn't great and also isn't surprising at the same time. So a few negative stories, to be fair, on such a spirited kind of Christmas day. We're going to kick things off with the financial figures. So there was, James Duck has been a very busy boy. He's been releasing a lot of stuff. I'm sure it's not just him, obviously other kind of publishers and the Telegraph as well. But there's been a lot of stuff coming out from their end on, kind of Ineos being there for a year. It'll be today, yeah. It's been a year today, and when they announced that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was taking over with Ineos. So there was a bit of a reflection on that. There was a bit of some interesting bits on what's going on at the club financially, which I definitely want to get into. So we'll discuss the first part of it, because there's stuff on the Glazers, there's stuff on transfers, there's stuff on money spent, in long term in terms of the last 10, 15 years. So we'll get into all of that. But the first one that stood out for me, Man United insiders believe years of underperformance domestically and in Europe are really starting to pinch. Missing out on the Champions League again would trigger a £10 million penalty in United's Adidas deal and rob the club of another hefty income stream. Now, I don't want to state the obvious, and I don't want to be that guy who's, the elephant in the room, but we ain't getting Champions League football. So it's like, putting that out there is kind of like, well, if they do miss it again, we're going to miss it again. We're halfway through the season. We're 13th in the league. We have no consistency whatsoever. There is absolutely, categorically no chance that we get European football. I'm sure anyone watching this right now, I'm sure you ask any United fans, no one is under the illusion that we can do that. Everyone watched the game against Bournemouth, the game against Ipswich, to go through them all. We ain't getting European football. Maybe at an absolute push, they end up getting the Conference League. But Amarin's already spoken about, we're going to have to go through a bit of pain at the minute. And we have to suffer. That's the word that keeps getting thrown about. Suffer, suffer, suffer. And we are definitely suffering at the moment. So, European football, you could basically scratch that off the walls. We're basically going to lose out on another £10 million. And it's not great, and we do need these kind of fees, but that's the reality of the situation where we're at. You might as well trigger it now. That's what I'll say. Also, Manchester United's existing transfer debt, the money still owed to other clubs for deals, stands currently at £331 million. It's the highest ever level and has almost doubled in just 2 years. Now, £331 million for transfers is crazy, but this is what happens when you use Klarna. Now, everyone's done that before. You go to buy something, they give you an option for Klarna. I'll be completely transparent with you. I got all my setup that I've got Klarna, because it's spread out, payments per month. It's just easy. But what United have done, because they've spread so many out, that it's actually become a bit overwhelming now. 331 million. I don't know whose that's for, but I reckon Anthony's a good chunk of change for that. I reckon Casemiro's a good chunk of change for that. Lissandro will probably be a chunk of change. Rasmus Højlund, that's about 300 million that I've just mentioned there. And Mason Mount's another one. There's loads. There's absolutely loads. So this is what happens. You might be spreading the payments out, but they all add up and they all bulk up. And then you find yourself paying so much a month or year or whatever it is. So, yeah, not surprised when we talk about transfers and how much we owe out. Apparently, United compiled with the PSR rule by the skin of their teeth over the past 3-year monitoring period. United posted an adjusted loss once allowable deductions were factored in of £103 million for the 22-24, only £2 million within the permitted range. So that is very close. Now, I'm not a financial expert, but when they keep mentioning PSR and people saying, oh, it's just kind of a bit of a ruse to, so we could buy players. Nah. Now, this is coming from legit journalists who have done their due diligence. We are, by the skin of our teeth, is the way it's being described, the past 3-year monitoring period. And you've got people talking about Teo Hernandez and Victor Gyökeres and Osman in January. Not happening. And you might be sat there thinking, you did a show about Osman last night, Nick. What are you talking about? I actually said in that show, if you think we're going to sign anyone in January, you're cuckoo, mate. You're absolutely cuckoo. I'm telling you now, it'd be a loan at the absolute maximum. it'll be a loan. But when you talk about players like Teo Hernandez, Gyökeres, no chance. No chance. Not sustainable doing that. Yeah, let's go buy, let's go spend 120 million in January. They probably won't spend 120 million in the summer. And this is the reason for this. So there's a couple of more explanations. So since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, Manchester United have bought £1.98 billion worth of players. 1.98 billion. 1.98 billion. That is a lot of fucking money. And also to add to that, Man United have spent £815 million on interest payments since the Glazers took over in 2005. Money that could have funded a new stadium. This is over 3 times greater than any other Premier League club in the same period. So effectively, when you look at it in isolation, that's £2.7 billion spent on nothing. Nothing. The 800 million is inflation and interest payments. That's not something substantial, something tangible that you can touch, that you can see. It's paying off their debts. 800 million has been spent. That's, like I said, that's almost a fucking stadium. And this the argument that the United fans always put up. People talk about the Glazers, they put money into the club, and it's such a shit argument. Look how much they've taken out to service their debt, And it's not like they put their own hand in the pockets and paid for transfers or whatever. It's from the club. The club pay for it, not them. You've seen Brighton's owner, I think it is Tony. Fuck, I forgot his second name. But I believe he's put in about £500 million of his own money when they needed it. Glazers would never fucking do that ever. And the reason why that 2.7 billion is nothing money as well, because the transfers that we've brought in, out of them players from 2013 to now, would you say has been a really good success and worth the money? You could probably count on one hand who has been worth it in a 10-year period. So that money, that's 2 points. When Richard Arnold was talking about burning cash, my God, £2.7 billion spent on nothing. It's crazy. I think like Zlatan, Bruno, you could probably throw in there. Ronaldo in his first season. And then I'm like, who else? Who else has been really worth the money that we spent? Mazraoui, Ugarte, maybe De Ligt. And then you go back to like under Ole. Was any of his transfers? Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Jose Mourinho, Lindelof, Dalot, Pogba. It's not great, is it? Not great at all. David Pearson, this club is ours. A mice infestation in the ground, a 1-star hygiene rating, a roof leaking on our manager in his press conference, and embarrassment. That's what we are. Could have said it better myself, David. Brian O'Gorman, Ruben must be wondering why he left Lisbon. It's a 6-year job. Keep manager, keep 3-4-3, sell players. I'd also agree with that as well. I think you're absolutely spot on, mate. But yeah, let's move on to the next story. So there's a little bit of things lingering about staff really unhappy at Manchester United and at Carrington. And there's obviously many valid reasons for this. All the cutting costs, no work from home, parties, Christmas parties cancelled, cutting vouchers in half. You got loads of staff that have been laid off, over 250 staff members, I think it is. Now, I have, I won't say who it is, but I have a family member that works at United on the social side of things. And when I was speaking to her, she was like, well, I don't want to think it, but she was like, it's not good. The mood isn't great. Even the pay isn't great either. And I was going through a couple of things, and I was like, that's interesting. It's mad, because when you think about a club like Manchester United, what they're about, what their whole blueprint and ethos is about as a club, this kind of together, we fight together, we do this together, it goes completely against what Ineos have done coming in. Now, people from a business side of things will look at it and say, well, this is something that they needed to do to kind of make everything watertight. So if you're a hard-nosed businessman, which Sir Jim Ratcliffe is, then he has no problem doing that whatsoever. But the one thing I've always said is, if you're going to be this ruthless with the staff members, then you need to be this ruthless with the players at the club. So let's see what kind of summer clearance we have when we get there. Let's see if they really are going to back themselves and do what they've done with staff, basically. Are they going to get rid of some of the big earners? Rashford's one of the biggest ones at the minute, and they're obviously being ruthless with that situation. But, you know, you've got Casemiro sat on the bench who's on £300,000 a week. You've got Anthony on the bench, £200,000 a week. Mason Mount can't get a game, and I'm going to speak about in a moment, who's on £270,000 a week. You spent £60 million on him. How ruthless are you going to be with him? Because if you're making all these cutting costs with staff, which is probably saving you, I don't know, an extra £1 million a year, let's say, maximum. These players are earning that in a month. So that's where I'll really judge him when we get to the summer. And even in January as well. Because despite what people tell you about the January market and that it's hard to sell and it's hard to buy and yada yada, you can still sell players in January. There's still some top players that have been sold. I think we bought Bruno in January. Van Dijk went in January. Torres was bought in January. Vidic and everyone bought in January. You can sell players. But how they do it, I don't know. I'm not sure. Something that was also spoken about as well, which I thought was like really, really disheartening and sad. And this is coming from Laurie Whitwell and Adam Crafton from The Athletic. And it was Bruno was so taken back. So Bruno Fernandes was so taken back that free travel and accommodation was not on offer for staff for the FA Cup final. He went to executives and offered to pay for all the usual extras out of his own pocket, but his proposal was rejected. How fucking sad is that? Bruno's gone up to the execs and said, look, I'll pay for the travel if you need to. I have no problem with that. And they've gone, no. And they've probably gone, no, you're not doing that because that makes us look really bad. So we're not going to do that. And it's like, come on, man. Like, this is staff. These are people that work for you. It's not as if you fucking, with all due respect, Morecambe. You're not, you don't bring in about, £5,000 a year. You make 500 to 600 million pound as a club a year, and you can't pay for travel for your staff. But you've got the Glazers getting, £200,000 jets over to watch. It's just, I don't know. It's very distasteful for me. Quite a lot of the decisions that they made, and to be honest with you, I'm not really liking the kind of PR around Ineos at the moment. That they're making decisions, they're making tough decisions. A lot of decisions they made, they didn't have to do. They didn't have to do. They didn't have to stop the Christmas party. They didn't have to fucking get rid of as many staff as they did. Why am I lagging so much? What's going on here? Hopefully my connection's back now. Apologies. Is that okay? Yeah. Apologies, people. Whoever's watching this live, I'll watch this later on. But yeah, I think that's a sad indictment of where we're at as a club at the moment. Hopefully, look, these decisions that they make, like I said, we see that reflection in the summer, and they be ruthless with it. And this is where the next story comes into it. So, and I'm not saying this is not me saying be ruthless with Garnacho, because I don't think it should be. I'm not saying that by any stretch of imagination. But maybe if you're talking about being ruthless, this is if he doesn't fit the system and it's someone you could get 60, 70 million pound for, and it'll be pure profit as well, and you're going to re-spend that money on something proper rather than just take it into your own pockets, it's something I would consider. So an unnamed European club apparently want to sign Alejandro Garnacho on loan with an option to buy worth £60 million. Now, my question to you, would you sell him, first and foremost? Do you think he can adapt to this system? Because, of course, he's still young. You can say the same thing about Kobe. I don't think Kobe's fully settled in the system at the moment. I think that can take a little bit of time. I wouldn't sell Kobe, definitely not. But Garnacho I'm more open to, personally. I think his attitude is a little bit annoying at times. He seems to think he has this God-given gift where he should be starting every single game, even when he puts in stinkers. I mean, you can kind of let it be a little bit if they're still winning games and still performing to the highest level week in, week out. You kind of be like, okay, I understand it. That bit of Zlatan arrogance or Ronaldo arrogance, you're like, okay, they deliver. So you can allow it a little bit. Garnacho has a bad game and he throws his fucking toys out of the pram sometimes, even when he gets subbed. And it's like, you've got an attitude issue. So if they see that and they're like, we're not too sure, we don't think he can suit the system, there'll be another team that can take him in, maybe an Atletico Madrid or maybe somewhere back in Spain, and we can get 60, 70 million pounds and we're going to reinvest it properly, I would be at least open to it, is what I'm saying. But I hope, first and foremost, why is it, oh, fucking hell, just clocked. Why is that on there? Victor Osimhen. I literally spoke about that yesterday. Oh, that's pissed me off. Only just noticed it 15 minutes in. I'm like, why is that? Sort this out, honestly. Sorry, people. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes I was literally set up, ready to go live before the show. And just as I was about to go live, the electric went. So everything turned off, which obviously reset my OBS, which I didn't realise. And then I still had the same bits on there. But luckily, the next story that I'm going to discuss, I can bang it on that news ticker. And you can read it for yourselves as I go through the thing. So, this is what we're going to discuss next. Mason Mount out, apparently, until March. Until March is what we're looking at, which is worrying, innit? It's worrying. To think, I looked at his record the other day in terms of injuries and how many games he's missed for the club, right? He's missed, I think, 30 games in total. 30 games. And he signed last summer. So, Ten Hag's had a full season with him. And we're halfway through the season. So, he's had a season and a half at United. And he's missed 30 games. That is crazy. He is... I think he's done. I think he's done. When he came back last time and he was starting to push into the team, and you had heard a load of kind of positivity from Ruben Amorim and people around him saying he's starting to get fit now, he's starting to get back in. You're like, okay, let's see if he can cook. Because I believe him as a player. Anyone who watches this channel knows I've spoken about Mason Mount for a while. I do think he's a player that every coach would want in his team, a player that you can trust. But you can't trust him at the moment. If he's not going to return until March 2025, that's going to be another 20 games that he's missed. That'll be 50 games in total since he's signed. That is Luke Shaw territory that we're talking here, people. So, yeah, it has to go down as a failure at the moment. It has to. Unfortunately, it's sad. I wanted it to work out for him, but I can no longer put trust in this player. If these, and it's not his fault. You know, they don't want to be injured. They'd obviously rather be on the pitch, but you can't ask for consistency or just pray on it because it will never ever work with Mason. And it's unfortunate, but hey ho, that is where we are. Anyway, just a quick news show today. Sorry about the technical issues and stuff. Happy Christmas Eve to anyone who's watching. Like I said, if you watch this later on or if you're currently in the chat, even though there's a few of us, I know people are very busy today. But we wanted to get a news story out there. We're going to do the Wolves preview later on tonight. I think me and Sam are on that one. And yeah, we'll have other stuff during the week as well. So take it easy, people. Have a wonderful Christmas. If we don't see you until after it, hope you get everything you want. Hope you spend nice time with your family and see all your